private.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. We got a nice little news roundup for you today. We're going to be talking about a bunch of people opting to be paid in Bitcoin, which seems to be a bit of a trend this year. It's been a trend for me for well over a year. We're going to be getting into some of the regulatory side of things, into the ETF realm. We're going to be talking a little international stuff here as well. Of course, El Salvador will be in there, but Laos. We've got a little sprinkling of everything. As always, this is live. Anything can happen, so I defer to my friend Bill here.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
If you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button, give this a share, and of course, subscribe. All of those things really, really do help. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
All right, before we dive in, let's take a look at where we are in the market right now. This is the bitbo.io dashboard. We're sitting at $61,487 per coin. A single US dollar will grab you 1,626 sats. 89.83% of all Bitcoin have been mined. And in terms of fees, a little bit higher today, 12 sats per byte for next block. But if you're willing to wait a little bit longer, 1 sat per byte should do ya. Of course, shout out to sponsors of the show, Shakepay.com. Did you know they just upped their referral bonuses? Because that's pretty awesome. Basically, if you sign up and you make your first $100 purchase, they give you $30 for free, $30. I think that's only going for like a week. So if you haven't signed up already, you might want to jump on that. There is a link in the show notes if you want to do that. That helps the show when you do it. But regardless of when you sign up, honestly, best, easiest, cheapest way in Canada to stack sats. No deposit fee, no withdrawal fee, very thin spread, some of the best rates in Canada. And again, once you refer a single person, you can shake your phone every single day and get free sats. And when you get on a streak, the number of sats goes up. So check them out. I love them. That's how I stack sats in Canada. LEDN.io. You can, of course, use your Bitcoin for a variety of different services here. In particular, for myself, if you happen to be in a pinch at any point and you need to get your hands on dollars, but you don't want to sell your Bitcoin because, of course, that is a taxable event and you're always worried about having to buy back in at a higher price, you can use their Bitcoin back loans very easily. Deposit Bitcoin, get a loan to your bank account in dollars within 24 hours. And when you pay back those dollars, you get back the same number of sats, which of course is the important number. They of course have USDC and Bitcoin savings accounts, and they've got their B2X offering. If you're feeling mega bullish, check them out. Show notes down below. I do live on Bitcoin. Bitrefill helps me with all of this. They've got just every gift card you can imagine. You can pay, of course, via Bitcoin, either on-chain or, as I do all the time, with Lightning Network. And yeah, it's super convenient, really easy to use. They've got a killer referral program, and you earn sats back as you shop. So check them out. Links are in show notes. You guys know Keystone, one of my favorite and most used hardware wallets. They've got their Black Friday sale coming up in a few weeks here, but regardless, you guys know who they are. Air gapped hardware wallet goodness. You never plug this thing into anything internet connected. It's all done offline via QR code. That keeps the keys to your money safe and away from shady internet connections. It works with all my favorite wallets too. Blue Wallet, Wasabi, Spectre, Sparrow, you name it, they got it. Badass and a multi-sig. Check them out if you're interested. Links are in the show notes, of course. And finally, if you're backing up any important hardware wallet, check out the BillFodl over at privacypros.io. If you're backing up an important wallet, paper usually doesn't cut it. You know, fire damage, water damage, you might accidentally discard it just because it's a sheet of paper. A solid hunk of steel gets rid of most, if not all of those scary items there. So check it out. This is how I back up my important wallets. And with that, let's get talking about getting paid in Bitcoin. Now, you guys know that I've been effectively living on Bitcoin for well over a year now, coming up. Yeah, a year and a half almost. That's crazy. But very happy about that decision. More people asking to be paid in Bitcoin. Some notables over the last little bit. Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers, he has partnered with Cash App to receive a portion of his NFL salary in Bitcoin. So he announced on Twitter about the partnership. He's taking a portion of his salary, and he's also giving away $1 million worth of Bitcoin to his fans in the comments section of the announcement. You just have to reply with your cash tag if you're on Cash App. Of course, that's only open to people in the States. I have not been able to play with the Cash App previously, but seems like a good US option. Again, just the first of many. There's been Russell Okung before and Sean Culkin also from the NFL that are taking large portions of their salaries in Bitcoin. Now, he didn't specify how much, but his annual salary is $33.5 million. Oh, Jesus. So even a small percentage of that is a meaningful amount of Bitcoin. So yeah, stack those sats, Aaron. Now, he's not the only one in the news recently for taking payment in Bitcoin. The mayor of Miami wants to take his next full paycheck in Bitcoin. So Francis Suarez has committed to taking his next full paycheck fully in Bitcoin, becoming the first known U.S. politician to make such a move. The mayor, who has been making large strides to integrate the network into the city's operations, announced today that his intention is to convert 100% of his next paycheck into Bitcoin. And he said that on Twitter. And this is in response to Anthony Pompliano. He tweeted out asking who would be the first U.S. politician to accept their salary in Bitcoin. And so the mayor kind of jumped on that and said, what did he say? He basically said, problem solved when he replied to that. Now, he did previously receive a portion of his pay last week, and he said it went flawlessly. Same with who else? The CIO, Mike Saracity. Sorry, he's the one who said it went flawlessly. But he did say that Suarez's move was a boss move, and yeah, they've been vocal about turning Miami into a Bitcoin hub. There was a little bit of, I don't know, should we call it shitcoinery? I think so. Yeah. He wanted to launch Miami coin on a layer of Bitcoin. I guess you could call it that. It's called Stacks, but it has its own native token that's built in to use as like the fees, the revenue, the gas to drive transactions. I'm not a big fan of that idea. I don't think you need a token to make that possible. Case in point, something like Liquid Network, there is no like separate token that fluctuates in value to make it speculative in any way. It's just one-to-one, even though it is like a token representing locked up Bitcoin. It's not like somebody's doing it to make a buck. It's literally like, okay, this is a pegged value. And Lightning Network doesn't even need that at all. It's just actual locked Bitcoin. So yeah, long and the short of it, I don't know, can you get politicians diving right into Bitcoin and being full on Bitcoin maximalists? I don't think we've really seen that yet. Am I missing somebody? I don't know. I feel like everybody's got to go down that shitcoin rabbit hole before they realize what's up. Another case in point, and this is the other big one, newly elected mayor of New York. Now, he ran on a platform saying that he was going to make New York a hub for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And he, in response to the mayor of Miami, said he's taking his first 3 paychecks entirely in Bitcoin. So they're talking a little bit here on Bitcoin Magazine about game theory playing out in politics in and around the U.S. So he said basically a couple days after the mayor of Miami counterpart shared a similar move, he said, in New York, we always go big. So I'm going to take my first 3 paychecks in Bitcoin when I become mayor. New York is going to be the center of the cryptocurrency industry and other fast growing innovative industries. Just wait. Now, he was recently elected. Obviously, he did a run marked by enthusiasm and promises around Bitcoin. He vowed to Bloomberg yesterday that he will look at what's preventing the growth of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in our city. I mean, part of it is that fucking bit license that Ben Losky put in back in the day. What an absolute chode. If you don't know about him, he basically passed insane regulatory hurdles to operate within New York State in terms of anything Bitcoin or crypto related. And then he jumped ship and then started making bank for large entities that could spend the money on him as an advisor of how to jump through those hoops easily. Like what a fucking snake that guy was. I still have a bad taste in my mouth from Ben Losky. What a bag of shit that dude is. Anyways, heads up to the mayor of New York. That might be part of your problem. That could be it, I think. Anyways, also the mayor of New York, here it is. He said he has interest in launching New York coin, similar to the one being implemented by Suarez in Miami. He said, we're going to look in the direction and carry that out. Do you need a city coin? Really? Like the whole point of Bitcoin is to be a global base layer of value. Again, I think most of these guys maybe have their heart in the right place, but they're gonna have to go through the paces of figuring out what's up and figuring out what's a waste of time. Miami coin, New York coin, I can tell you right now, those are wastes of time. Let's keep going here. U.S. Congressman sent SEC letter advocating for spot Bitcoin ETF. So today, the SEC chairman Gary Gensler was sent, this was actually yesterday, a letter written by two congressmen, Tom Emmer and Darren Soto, advocating for the approval of a spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund or ETF to begin trading in the country. They said, quote, we question why, if you are comfortable allowing trading in an ETF based on derivatives contracts, you are not equally or more comfortable allowing trading to commence on ETFs based on spot Bitcoin. Bitcoin spot ETFs are based directly on the asset, which inherently provides more protection for investors. They said, it is our understanding that previously as the SEC chose not to approve a Bitcoin futures ETF or spot ETF due to concerns about the perceived potential for fraud and manipulation in Bitcoin markets. In fact, the SEC clearly articulated that these concerns could be addressed by demonstrating that the underlying Bitcoin market is inherently resistant to fraud and manipulation, or that there are other means to prevent fraudulent and manipulative apps and practices, or that a significant amount of trading took place on a regulated market. For instance, if the CME traded Bitcoin futures market were to become the leading source of price discovery in the Bitcoin market. Please note that neither of these requirements state a preference for Bitcoin spot ETFs or future ETFs. They said for this reason, whether one, both, or none of these requirements has been met, the SEC should no longer have concerns with Bitcoin spot ETFs and should show a similar willingness to permit the trading of Bitcoin spot ETFs. It says they also went on to say that permitting futures-based ETFs while simultaneously continuing to deny spot-based ETFs would further perpetuate these discounts, talking about things like the GBTC and everything, which is trading at a discount to NAV, discount to actual price of the underlying assets. It said that denying spot-based ETFs would perpetuate these discounts and clearly go against the SEC's core mission of protecting investors. Basically, these congressmen were saying, what are you guys doing? Why would you say that people can trade on speculative, risky, volatile futures Bitcoin contracts, which are basically people betting on the future price of Bitcoin rather than holding the underlying asset, rather than just saying, here's an ETF fully backed by actual Bitcoin that is held in some sort of a fund? Why would you approve one and not the other? And because you've neglected to do so, all of these other instruments that people have been trying to use to get some exposure are way off base in their price. So I agree here. I think it's just a matter of time at this point. It's kind of insane to me that it's taken this long, and it's kind of insane to me that there's futures ETFs sitting out there and there's nothing for actual spot. But whatever. And in the ETF realm, Direction had filed, a company called Direction had filed for an ETF that would bet against the price of Bitcoin. It was called the Direction Bitcoin Strategy Bear ETF. And basically, as soon as they submitted it to the SEC for listing, the SEC immediately requested that they rescind their submission, that they pull it. So they did. They said, while it does seem a bit inconsistent given their acceptance of Bitcoin futures markets, it isn't surprising and likely part of a baby steps regulatory mindset. They said, I bet we will see someday, but only when they feel ready. Yeah, I mean, again, if they were to approve that and still also not have spot ETFs, it would be kind of ridiculous. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't do spot first, then futures, and then, but what do I know? Okay, let's keep going here. NYDIG acquires British Bitcoin startup BottlePay in a $300 million stock purchase. So NYDIG, the New York-based crypto company, has acquired British payments startup BottlePay, according to people familiar with the matter. NYDIG will pay the company in shares, and the deal is worth between $280 to $300 million, which is equivalent to 3% of NYDIG's shares. It closed earlier this week. A spokesperson declined to comment from NYDIG. Founded in 2019, based in Newcastle upon Tyne, England, BottlePay facilitates instant payments in a range of currencies, including Bitcoin. The platform uses the Lightning Network, a Bitcoin-centered protocol that aims to facilitate faster payments. So here's the interesting bit, and why I wanted to touch on that. NYDIG purchasing BottlePay seems to be a play on the Lightning Network, because that's what BottlePay was known for, right? They facilitated Bitcoin Lightning transactions. So, and NYDIG, those unfamiliar, I'm sure you've heard it, but they are actively working with banks across the U.S. to enable them to utilize Bitcoin and offer it to their customers and work it into their banking apps and offer it as payment solutions. So you've got to imagine that at some point those two worlds collide. If NYDIG is buying up a Bitcoin Lightning Network related company, it must be a play for some of the technology and infrastructure that they're building out. And I've got to imagine that will proliferate out into its other offerings. And so does that mean that banks start utilizing Lightning Network? I mean, I'm not big on custody. I don't really, that's not really super interesting to me. But at the same time, more usage of the Lightning Network, more liquidity, easier to send payments, easier to send large Lightning payments over time. I think that's a net positive. So I guess we'll see how that plays out. Let's keep going. JP Morgan. This from Markets Insider, they renewed their prediction that Bitcoin could hit $146,000 and says it's acting more like digital gold than ever. So they recently published a deep dive into digital assets. And what did they say here? They said it could surge to $146,000 in the long term. Long term, JP Morgan. Why are you so bearish? Long term. Come on. I still think we're in for a crazy end of the year. 146 long term seems pretty bearish, you guys. If they said, if volatility subsides and institutions start preferring it to gold in their portfolios. So that's basically 130% above where it's sitting right around now. JP Morgan thinks Bitcoin, which is also a scarce product, is increasingly competing with gold for investors' attention as a hedge against inflation. And then they say that the reemergence of inflation concerns among investors during September and October appears to have renewed interest in the usage of Bitcoin as an inflation hedge. This is my favorite quote here. Bitcoin's allure as an inflation hedge has perhaps been strengthened by the failure of gold to respond in recent weeks to heightened concerns over inflation. Peter Schiff must be losing his mind reading stuff like this. Yeah, they said that there's little doubt that the tokens competition with gold will continue as millennials become more powerful in the investing universe, given their preference for cryptocurrencies. Yeah, I mean, they go on to talk about, well, maybe it could drop back below 30,000, and they say, oh, the next big price target is 73,000 if it keeps going up. I don't know. A lot of it seems kind of arbitrary. I do think that 146,000, like in all as a long-term target, is, I don't know, like up 130% from here. And they even say in the article, Bitcoin is already up 340% over the last year. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're just being conservative with their plays and they don't want to pull I don't know, like a Scott Menard with Guggenheim and say it's going to be 400 or 600K and then make a bad move and sell it and, get egg on their face when it doesn't go as low as they think it's going to go. Who knows? But I mean, Jamie Dimon is probably not super excited about all of these price targets and positive sentiments coming out of his company, especially since he hates Bitcoin with a burning passion. But, I guess it's capitulation from people within. He couldn't stop that from happening, I suppose. Let's keep moving here. Let's go a little international here. Australia's largest bank to integrate Bitcoin services in app. So Commonwealth Bank, or CBA, will reportedly enable its 6.5 million customers to buy, sell, and hold Bitcoin directly in its banking app. And this is according to the Australian Financial Review. The bank will become the first in Australia to offer customers direct access to Bitcoin and join a handful of other financial institutions in the world to cater to the growing demand for the scarce asset. According to the report, CBA hasn't made a formal announcement yet and is preparing to share its developments in integrating BTC into its app in and around now. What is today? I guess, when was this? This was November 2nd, so maybe I'm a little bit behind. Any news from CBA? Anybody? I didn't see anything extra published today, but who knows? Maybe within the end of the week here. So basically, this is about 25% of the country's total population that would immediately have access. That's no small feat. I'd like to see something like that in Canada. Again, not a fan of the custodial aspect of it, but just seeing that, having people log onto their bank and just see like, oh, I can get Bitcoin through my bank. And then it becomes a lot less foreign to them. And then all us Bitcoiners can tell them to stop buying shitty IOUs and actually go get real Bitcoin and withdraw to their own custody. They do say here, it's unclear whether Commonwealth Bank will allow customers to withdraw Bitcoin to an external wallet, which holds the private keys. Yeah. Again, I don't think that they will. I think it'll be an IOU. I think it'll be like exposure to Bitcoin in a custodial account that you can never withdraw. And if you want it in your own custody, then you've got to sell, incur capital gains, and then buy elsewhere. Unless, of course, there's such a demand for it that they're losing business to alternatives, which could be the case. That could be the case. It definitely won't come out as you can withdraw to your own custody right away. But look at the pressure that was placed on PayPal and Robinhood, and now they're rolling that out so people can actually withdraw their own funds. And the pressure that apps like Strike puts on payment processors and banks and stuff like that is not to be ignored. So while I don't think that's going to be their intention out the gate, I think eventually they could be forced into it. Let's go further abroad to Laos. I did spend some time backpacking in Laos. It was really cool. It's probably the most off the grid I've ever felt. I floated down the Mekong River in one of those longboats with my wife. It was amazing. And funny enough, in a place called Luang Prabang, we wandered into a little cafe that was hidden away in the jungle, and we sat down. We're hanging out. My wife goes up to the bar to grab a drink. She comes back and she says, "You're never going to believe this. They accept Bitcoin." And so I was like, no way. I go up and I talk to the guy. The guy that owned the bar was actually from Canada. And yeah, he was super nice. I got chatting with him, and he actually, because they just rake you over the coals when you use the ATMs to take out cash in Laos. He was like, "Oh, I can exchange you some cash for Bitcoin if you need some more while you're here local." And it's mostly cash based economy, so that was a huge help, and definitely helped me get local cash much easier. Anyways, to the story. Sorry, I digress. Laos is expected to earn 190 million from Bitcoin mining in 2022. The government of Laos, which is in Southeast Asia between Thailand and Vietnam, reportedly expects to earn around 190 million in revenue from Bitcoin mining next year. And this is according to a report by the Cambodian newspaper, the Phnom Penh Post. Total Lao domestic revenue, which reportedly accounts for 15% of their GDP, is expected to amount to nearly 2.8 billion in 2022, and that's from the Minister of Finance. Quote, presenting the National Assembly's 2022 draft budget plan to the session, the minister said the new source of revenue would increase the projected revenue for next year by 20% compared to the target for 2021. That's not a joke. 20% up. Impressive. All right. It says, according to the Post, the Lao government plans to employ these new revenue streams proceeds on, quote, priority programs. These include increasing supporting allowances to cover the living expenses of officials and security force personnel. Not too self-interested there. Expenditure on efforts to respond to we'll just say the pandemic outbreak, and the payment of debts. Well, at least they're paying down some debt there. I suppose that's good. Yeah. Well, this is interesting. I think more countries. It's kind of hard to ignore. Hey, now that we've got volcanoed down in El Salvador, they're using geothermal to mine, and you see more small countries coming on board and seeing this as a potential revenue source. Kazakhstan is like one of the largest miners now. And that proliferation of mining infrastructure that just left China after the ban and is now finding new homes. It looks like some small countries are capitalizing on that redistribution of hash rates. So more power to Laos. And finally, and again, on the benefits of Bitcoin for small countries, back with El Salvador, President Bukele, El Salvador to use Bitcoin profits to build 20 schools. And specifically, let's chat about how that's being achieved. So he said he's going to build 20 new schools with Bitcoin profits. This is actually from the press secretary. The funds come from the surplus of the Salvadoran Trust for the Adoption of Bitcoin, which is currently enjoying all-time highs at above the $60,000 price mark. And so they had just built the first public veterinary hospital based on the upswing in the price of Bitcoin in their reserves. He said that I'm going to skip all the details about the veterinary hospital. So he said that these 20 new schools are in addition to the 400 schools from the My New School program. This comes just a week after the all-time high was broken. And after they bought the dip multiple times, they now got 1,120 Bitcoin. Their last dip buy was 420 Bitcoin. He's a professional troll, I think, in that one. Now it says here that they're not planning to take profits from their Bitcoin stack to fund the hospital or the new schools. Rather, they'll continue to use dollars also held in the fund. So I love this because they're recognizing, wow, we don't want to convert the Bitcoin. We've got dollars sitting in this fund here. We better use the dollars and hold the Bitcoin. They're getting it. He's getting it. I enjoy that because it's like, why would you get rid of the sounder money? It's fantastic. I know that's such a tiny little tidbit at the end of an article, but it really makes me smile because somebody looked and made a call and said, we've got Bitcoin sitting here and we've got US dollars sitting here, and we need to spend one of them to build some infrastructure. Which one are we going to get rid of? Which one is least valuable? Which one do we not want sitting here in this fund? And the answer was dollars. That's kind of a big fucking deal. I think that's pretty cool. Anyways, one last thing I wanted to, this is local to me, but it just popped into my feed. I know a lot of people dealing with this in a lot of different cities. But it is, again, it just kind of drives home the why we Bitcoin point. It's an article from the CBC. It says Calgary families see roughly $220 added to their monthly grocery bill. CBC launches new focus on food cost. It's crazy. Like, this one got me. This portion here, it says it released a report Monday. Researchers found prices in many areas increased with inflation, but food prices increased faster. Now, a family with 2 adults and 2 kids can expect to spend nearly 1,200 Canadian dollars a month to ensure a full fridge and kitchen cupboards. That is insane. That is an insane amount of money monthly on groceries. And I think about it and I think, okay, so I've got 2 kids. It's me and my wife. My one kid is 7 months old, so he's not, he's breastfeeding, and he's gets like some little pouches of food here and there as he's starting to learn to eat solids. But like, that's not much. My daughter's 4. She doesn't eat like a ton, so that's not a lot of extra food. But I've got to imagine that I think of what we're spending right now on food, and we're purposely making efforts to get healthy food, which is food that you can't bullshit with poor ingredients to drive down the cost. So like, I'm stocking up on steak and stuff. I've got meat in my freezer. I have a meat guy that comes, and then we do like actual fresh produce and stuff like that. And you can't fake the prices of that. You notice when they're more expensive. And yeah, I can only imagine as my kids get older, it's going to be so expensive. And thank God I'm not using Canadian dollars as a method to store my purchasing power, because Jesus, it's not working out for most people. And you can blame it on supply chains and you can blame it on other factors, but we need to not forget that like 30 to 40% of all existing base money on the planet was created in the past year, and that's having a real effect on things. And I think that there's a lot of excuse making when the culprit is staring us right in the fucking face. So anyways, yeah, that's it for why we Bitcoin this week. A couple other things I wouldn't mind checking out. This just caught my eye. Mercury wallet and Statechains. It's not something that I've dove into extensively, but I've been reading a little bit about it the past couple of days. It looks kind of cool. What it is basically transacting off-chain with Bitcoin in a way where there are no fees and where there is no on-chain transaction made, thus making it effectively anonymous. There's no indication that a transaction even took place. So you can kind of think of it as like a mishmash of CoinJoin and Lightning Network. And it looks pretty interesting. Now it's not fully trustless. There's a degree of risk there. But I'm trying to understand those better. And effectively what it is you create UTXOs for specific amounts, say like 1 million sats or 10 million sats or whatever it may be. And then you actually swap the keys that govern those particular UTXOs. So you have ownership and a key for a certain UTXO, and then and it's kind of done in a multi-sig way. It's hard to explain. I'm learning, but basically you're swapping the keys for UTXOs with somebody else so that they have control of yours and no longer have control of theirs, and vice versa. And you can do that via this wallet, which I've yet to try. So, don't take my word for it. And this is a protocol that can be used by lots of different implementations. They have a GitHub. You can go and audit the code yourself. But it basically looks like a way to coin join and transact and eliminate privacy concerns and eliminate fees for specific amounts. It's kind of like trading $100 bills, or $50 bills or whatever you're doing. So it's interesting. I'm going to be diving into this. And if I start to learn more about it and I think it's continue to think it's interesting, then I will be for sure making a video on this. It's in beta, so it's very early days. We'll see. And one other thing I'd like you guys to check out, there's a new 15-minute video, a little film put together. It's on Swan Signal. It's called Bitcoin is Generational Wealth, a short film by Matt Hornick and Tomer Strolight. It was pretty good. I quite enjoyed it. So head over to Swan Signal and check that one out. It's already got like 54,000 views. Pretty good considering it dropped like 3 days ago. So yeah, check it out. Share it around. It's a good watch. With that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you guys very much for swinging by, watching. I've got a killer Why Are We Bullish tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you don't miss that one. Of course, like, subscribe, share. All those things really help. You can hit up the sponsors down below. Shakepay, LEDN, Bitrefill, Keystone, BillFodl. They're all in the show notes. And if you really liked what you saw, you can always drop me a Bitcoin tip at my Strike page. That is strike.me/BTC sessions. Head there, hit whatever amount you like, hit the tip button. You'll be greeted with a Lightning invoice, or if you tap to the right, a regular Bitcoin QR code. With that, I am out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening, and I'll see you guys next time for your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.